A very good morning to everybody present over here. We are members of group number 14, and we'll be explaining a project on the topic racial discrimination and civil rights resort to it. Handing it over to Subhash to explain the objectives of the project.
Thank you, Isabel. Yeah, the objective of this study is to find out how many people are aware about their civil rights and racial discrimination. This project makes an attempt to learn more about the civil rights and racial discrimination, to recognize democratic institution as a fundamental human rights. Passing it to Zain.
Slide. Hello everyone, this is Zain Ahmed Sheikh. The data used for the project was two types of data were used. The primary data was collected from surveys through Google Forms, and the secondary data was collected from internet websites, books, magazines, etc. The sample was collected from approximately 30 respondents, and the convenient sampling method was used for the same. Handing it over to Arnav.
Good evening, everyone. Myself, Arnav. I'm going to introduce. My introduction is on civil rights. Civil rights are an expansive and significant sets of rights that are designed to protect individuals from unfair treatments. Next, there are 13 main civil rights for every citizen, and every citizen should be aware of. Right to education, right to freedom, right to family life, right to freedom of movement, freedom to vote, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. Next. Okay. Here is an example on civil rights movement. The main aim of the successful civil rights movement and the other social movements for civil rights include ensuring that the rights of all people were and are equally protected by the law. These include but are not limited to the rights of minorities, women's rights, disability rights, and LGBT rights. Next, racial discrimination. Racial discrimination is any discrimination against any individual on the basis of their color, racial, or ethnic origin. Individuals are discriminated by refusing to do business with, socialize with, or share resources with people of a certain group. Next, there are main racial discrimination, like four main racial discrimination. For example, racial discrimination, sex and gender discrimination, age discrimination, disability discrimination, and color discrimination. Now I pass it on to.
Okay, good evening, everybody. I'll be explaining the causes of racial discrimination. Firstly, racism due to an outgroup. After independence, not many people from different nationalities have settled in India. Therefore, the interactions of people of India from other nationalities are limited. This often leads to hostility and xenophobia towards foreigners. Racism as a retribution. Indians are often discriminated against in other countries. Moreover, stereotypes against Indians makes matters worse, such as the stereotypical Indian accent and the stereotype that Indians always smell like curry. This leads to a sense of insecurity and also leads to people being infuriated. Third point, racism due to diversity in India. Racism as a practice in India is also prevalent among Indian communities. Due to variance in regional diversity, many communities are pitted against each other. There have been many instances where Northeast Indians have been discriminated against by the rest of Indians. Fourth point, racism due to lack of sensitization. Due to lack of sensitization, people are not able to overcome their mindset or their prejudices. They are given no push in the right direction, that is, the direction towards changing and overcoming their inherent bias. In addition to that, the government has not put in place a framework that prevents racial intolerance in India. Moving on to the next topic, that is India's hidden apathy. The Hindu caste system states that there are four main castes, that is the Brahmins, which includes the priests and teachers, the Kshatriyas, which includes the rulers and soldiers, the Vaishyas, consisting of merchants and traders, and lastly the Shudras, consisting of laborers and artisans. Apart from these four, there is a caste that falls below these, which consists of the Dalits or the untouchables. Dalits endure segregation in housing, schools, and access to public services. They are denied access to land, forced to work in degrading conditions, and routinely abused at the hands of police and upper caste community members who enjoy the protection of the state. Intense discrimination violates Dalits' rights to education, health, housing, property, freedom of religion, free choice of employment, and equal treatment before the law. Caste motivated killings, rapes, and other abuses are a daily occurrence in India. Between 2001 and 2002, close to 58,000 cases were registered under the Schedule SCST Prevention of Atrocities Act legislation that criminalizes particularly egregious abuses against Dalits and tribal community members. A 2005 government report states that a crime is committed against a Dalit every 20 minutes. Though staggering, these figures represent only a fraction of actual incidents since many Dalits do not register cases for fear of retaliation by the police and upper caste individuals. Although India has made measurable progress in terms of protections afforded to the Dalits since independence, Dalits still suffer invidious mistreatment at the hands of the upper caste members and law enforcement officials. Such mistreatment is inexcusable under both India's domestic laws and its obligations under international law.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Vidya Yadav here. I'm going to present about civil rights in India. According to Section 2 of the Protection of the Civil Rights Act 1955, lays down the definition of civil rights. The Act prescribes punishments for the practice of untouchability, for the enforcement of any disability arising from and for matters connected therewith, and vice versa. After the suffering of many years, the introduction of civil rights took place in India, which in the beginning did not change anything, but with the passage of time, changes took place. Moving on to the Indian Civil Rights Act. Indian Civil Rights Act is a federal law. Indian tribal governments cannot pass such law that violate certain individual rights. It is similar to that of the US Constitution that guarantees personal freedom against federal government action. So here are some of the points which ICRA provides to individuals. The rights provided by IRCA are freedom of speech and free exercise of religion, freedom from unreasonable search and seizures, freedom from prosecution more than once for the same offense, equal protection of law, and freedom of liberty or poverty without due process of law, freedom from excessive bails, excessive fines, and cruel or unusual punishment. Moving on to current status of racism law in India. The section was first added in the code by the Indian Penal Code Act 1898 with a view to deal with certain other matters relating to breach of public tranquility, which was not covered in the original Indian Penal Code. The jurisdiction of the section 153A is widened so as to make the promotion of disharmony, enmity, or feeling of hatred or ill will between different religious, racial, language, or regional group or caste. The offense on moral turpitude is also covered in same way, extended to 3 years, or with fine, or with both. However, the punishment of the offense committed in a place of worship is enhanced up to 5 years and fine. Moving on to Anti-Discrimination and Equality Bill 2016. Anti-Discrimination and Equality Bill is made to ensure equality to every citizen of the country by providing protection against all forms of social discrimination. Presently, there is no comprehensive anti-discrimination legislation in India. There are some scattered laws which protect the citizens, but those are only available against the state and not private organization or individuals. The Constitution of India also does not have any specific provision and remains silent on the issues. To bridge the gap, MP Shashi Tharoor has moved a bill in the parliament titled Anti-Discrimination Bill and Equality Bill 2016. The bill gives a wide ambit to the concept of discrimination, extending its application to the private sector as well, hence protecting the ones who were earlier left def- defenseless. I would like to pass on to Kuba Kohli.
Purva Kohli, and we are going to see the mentality of people in India on racism. A focus group discussion with color bias in India is colonial, not traditional. We have better jobs and marriage if we are fairer. North Indian people are fair and dark skin is for South. India is obsessed with fair skin. Moving on to the case studies. First case is a group discussion with Indian women found their obsession on fairness and beauty. This is not surprising as fairer skin has colonial connotation of power and superiority. It was also reported that for many Hindu women, beauty and attractiveness are linked to the color of skin. It was also found that fairer skin color is related to better prospects of finding a mate in arranged marriage. Moving on to the next case study. Dark skin is perceived to be disadvantaged for both men and women. Studies have reported that black women seems to suffer more double jeopardy. That is, women are likely to be at a more disadvantageous position than men where color of skin is concerned. At a workplace, dark-skinned women received more rejections than equally qualified dark-skinned men. Passing on to Subhash.
Thank you, Purva. So we starting with a survey. The first question: do you know the term civil rights and civil racial discrimination? So people are responded for this question. 71% yes, people are very aware of this term. So second question goes to: do you think this that racism affect the mental health? So 74 people are accepting that they know that racism affect the mental health. Do you face any racial discrimination asked to people? So people are many people 71 people are told that no, they never face any racial discrimination. So next question is: do you agree the individual have the right to wear whatever what they want even if they're part of their religion? So 61 people are strongly agreeing to this term that a individual can wear whatever they want. So question is: should there be a law in countries to give equal rights to the property to every citizen of the nation regardless to their religion? So 45% people are agreeing to this term, 38% are strongly agree to this term, and the 12% are a neutral answer for this. Passing on to the Zain.
So the next question up here is: do you agree that the government should ban institutions from discriminating against individuals? And we have 55% of the people who strongly agree to this. The next question is: should the educational institutions have a subject against racism in the curriculum? And 35% of the people have agreed to this, and more 35% have strongly agreed to this. The next question is: have you ever been racist to anyone or anybody? And 90% of the people have never been racist to anyone. Have you stood up for someone who was getting rude comments about their race? And we have 63% responses who say yes. The next question is: do you think that racial discrimination should be eliminated from our society? And 90% of the people say yes to this. The next question is: should there be policies in companies in favor of racism victims? And 45% of the people have strongly agreed to this. Passing on, passing on to Purva.
Thank you, Zain. We are going to see the conclusion now. Discrimination is not the only cause of racism in India. Racial discrimination remains an important factor in shaping the patterns of society. Through the study, we can convey that the racial discrimination affects the mental health of a people, and today's generation should be made aware about the rights against the racial discrimination. Thank you, everyone.